The thunder of motorcycle engines broke the peaceful evening at Sarah Johnson's farm. Dust clouds rose as 7 motorcycles roared up her long dirt driveway. Sarah was picking tomatoes when she heard them coming. She set down her basket slowly, her face calm but her eyes sharp and alert. "They're here," she called to her brother James, who stepped onto the porch with worry on his face. "Should I call the sheriff?" he asked. Sarah shook her head. "No. Go inside. Lock the door." Before you dive into the full story, take a second to comment where you're watching from and what you think will happen next. I'm curious to see your predictions. The bikers parked in a half circle, facing the farmhouse. They were large men with dirty jeans and black leather vests. Each vest had the same picture on the back, a snarling wolf with red eyes. The leader, a tall man with a thick beard and tattoos covering both arms, stepped forward. "This the Johnson place?" he called out, his voice rough like gravel. Sarah walked toward them, stopping 10 feet away. "It is. And you're trespassing." The bikers laughed. One of them spat on the ground near Sarah's feet. "Brave words from a woman all alone," the leader said. "Name's Spike. These are my brothers from the Night Wolves. We're here to deliver a message." Sarah crossed her arms. "I'm listening. Mr. Blackwell wants this land. He's offered you good money. Twice the value. But you keep saying no." Spike stepped closer. "He's getting tired of asking nicely." Sarah didn't move back. "This farm isn't for sale. Not to Blackwell. Not to anyone." Spike looked around at the neat rows of vegetables, the old red barn, the farmhouse that needed a fresh coat of paint. "Nice place. Would be a shame if something happened to it." He pulled out a lighter and flicked it open. The flame danced in the evening breeze. "Is that a threat?" Sarah asked, her voice steady. "It's a promise," Spike said. "You have 3 days to sign the papers, or we come back. And next time, we won't just talk." He looked toward the house. "Tell your brother that too." Sarah's eyes narrowed slightly. "You've delivered your message. Now get off my land." Spike stared at her for a long moment, then laughed. "You've got guts, lady. Too bad that won't be enough." He turned to his gang. "Let's ride, boys. We'll be back soon." The bikers started their motorcycles with a roar. Before leaving, one of them drove in circles around Sarah, kicking up dust and dirt that covered her clothes and face. She didn't flinch or move. She just watched them, memorizing each face as they rode away. When they were gone, James rushed out from the house. "Sarah, are you okay?" She brushed the dust from her clothes. "I'm fine. But we need to get ready. They'll be back." "We should call the police," James insisted. "Sheriff Davis works for Blackwell, just like half the town," Sarah said, walking toward the house. "We're on our own." Inside, she went straight to her bedroom and opened the closet. Behind her hanging clothes was a metal door with a combination lock. Sarah entered the code and pulled the heavy door open. Inside was a collection that would shock most people who knew her as just a simple farmer. A military uniform with Special Forces patches. Medals and ribbons in a glass case. Tactical gear, communications equipment, and weapons, all neatly organized. Sarah reached for a satellite phone she hadn't used in years and made a call. "Mike? It's Sarah Johnson. I need your help." James appeared in the doorway, his eyes wide at the sight of his sister's hidden arsenal. "What are you doing?" Sarah turned to him, phone still in hand. "Calling in some old friends." "Who are you calling?" "People I served with. People who owe me favors." James stared at her. "Those bikers don't know who they're messing with, do they?" Sarah's face was serious. "No. They don't." 20 years earlier, Sarah Johnson wasn't a farmer. She was Captain Sarah Johnson, one of the first women selected for Delta Force, the Army's elite Special Operations Unit. For 15 years, she led missions in war zones around the world, taking down terrorists, rescuing hostages, and doing things that would never appear in any official report. When her father died 5 years ago, she came home to run the family farm. She put away her weapons and medals, planted vegetables instead of explosives, and tried to find peace. The people in town just saw a black woman working hard to keep her farm alive. They never imagined her past. Never knew what she was capable of. By nightfall, 3 pickup trucks had arrived at the Johnson farm. 6 men and 2 women, all former military, all people who had served with Sarah in places they never talked about. They gathered around her kitchen table as she laid out a map of the property. "This is Mike, Jenny, Rodriguez, Thompson, Carter, Jackson, Martinez, and Cooper," Sarah said to her brother. "We served together." James nodded nervously. "Thanks for coming." "When the captain calls, we come," said Mike, a tall man with a scar across his cheek. "No questions asked." Sarah pointed to different areas on the map. "They'll come from the main road. Probably at night. Their leader, Spike, likes to show off. He'll want to make an example of us." "How many?" asked Jenny, a lean woman with short gray hair. "At least 15, Sarah replied. "Maybe more. They're not trained soldiers, but they're dangerous. And they don't expect resistance." "What's the plan?" Rodriguez asked. "We taking them head on?" Sarah shook her head. "No. We set the stage. Make them think they have the advantage. Then we show them they picked the wrong farm to threaten." For 2 days, they prepared. Hidden cameras went up around the property. Trip wires and motion sensors were placed at key points. The barn was converted into a command center with monitors showing every approach to the farm. Escape routes were planned, emergency signals established. On the 3rd night, they waited. Sarah sat alone on the porch, rocking gently in an old wooden chair. She looked like an easy target, a woman waiting to be intimidated into giving up her land. Her team was invisible, positioned in the darkness, watching and waiting. The bikers arrived just after midnight. This time there were 20 of them, some on motorcycles, others in pickup trucks. They carried baseball bats, chains, and gas cans. They parked at the end of the driveway and approached on foot, trying to be quiet but failing. Sarah stood as they approached. Spike walked in front, a smug smile on his face. "Time's up, lady," he called. "You ready to sign those papers?" "No," Sarah said simply. Spike's smile faded. "Wrong answer." He nodded to his men. "Burn it all. Start with the barn." Several bikers moved toward the barn, gas cans in hand. Sarah remained calm. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," she said. Spike laughed. "And why's that? You got the sheriff hidden inside? Some lawyers from the big city?" "No," said Sarah. "Something much worse." She raised her hand and snapped her fingers. Instantly, powerful lights flashed on from hidden spots around the farm. The bikers froze, suddenly caught in blinding light. From the darkness beyond the lights, Sarah's team emerged, moving with military precision, weapons raised. "What the hell?" Spike shouted, shielding his eyes. Sarah walked down the porch steps. "You made 3 mistakes, Spike. First, you threatened my family. Second, you assumed I was alone and helpless." She stopped directly in front of him. "Third, you had no idea who I really am." "Who are you?" he asked, his confidence crumbling. "Captain Sarah Johnson, Delta Force, retired." "The farm you're trying to burn down?" "I've defended harder targets against better enemies than you." Her voice was calm but ice-cold. "Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop those gas cans, get back on your bikes, and never set foot on my property again." One of the bikers raised a baseball bat. "There's still more of us then." Before he could finish, Mike appeared beside him and twisted the bat from his hands. 3 other bikers reached for hidden weapons, but Sarah's team moved faster, disarming them with practiced ease. Don't, Sarah warned. My friends and I have taken down terrorists in 7 countries. You really want to test us? Fear replaced anger in Spike's eyes. He looked around at his gang, suddenly unsure. This isn't over, he threatened weakly. Actually, it is, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see a group of men in FBI jackets approaching from the road. Federal agents. Everyone stay where you are. The lead agent walked up to Sarah. Captain Johnson. Got your message. Sorry we're late. Right on time, Agent Wilson, Sarah replied. Wait, you know each other? Spike asked, panicking. We served together, the agent explained. And when she said evidence of your boss Blackwell's land fraud scheme, along with threats made by known criminals, that would be you, we took notice. The next hour was chaos as the FBI arrested the entire biker gang. Agents took statements from Sarah and her team. As the last police car drove away, her friends gathered on the porch. Just like old times, Captain, Cooper said with a grin. Sarah shook her head. I came here for peace and quiet. Some people aren't meant for quiet lives, Mike said. Trouble finds them. Or maybe we find trouble, Sarah replied. By morning, word had spread through town. The Night Wolves gang arrested Richard Blackwell under investigation for fraud, bribery, and conspiracy. Sarah Johnson, quiet farmer, revealed as a war hero. Neighbors who had kept their distance now came by with food and offers of help. Sheriff Davis resigned. The town council voted to protect family farms from developers. A week later, Sarah was back in her fields, planting fall crops as if nothing had happened. James watched her from the porch. You know, he said when she came in for lunch, those bikers had no idea what they were getting into when they decided to raid this farm. Sarah smiled slightly. Most people see what they expect to see. A black woman alone on a farm must be an easy target. Their mistake, James said. Yes, Sarah agreed. Their mistake. That evening, as the sun set over her fields, Sarah sat on the porch with a cup of tea. The land stretched before her, peaceful once more. But there was a difference now. The town knew her secret. They knew the quiet farmer was also a warrior. She didn't mind. Some secrets aren't meant to stay buried forever. Sometimes the world needs to be reminded that strength comes in many forms, and the fiercest defenders are often those you least suspect. Sarah Johnson had protected her country across distant battlefields. Now she had protected her home. The methods were different, but the mission was the same, defending what matters, no matter the odds. She touched the worn wood of the porch railing, feeling the generations of her family who had worked this land before her. They had faced their own battles, racism, economic hardship, natural disasters. Each generation had found their own way to stand their ground. We're still here, she whispered to the darkening sky. And they would remain, she knew, no matter what came next. Because while the bikers had seen only a woman alone on a farm, they hadn't seen her true self. They hadn't recognized the steel in her eyes, forged in combat. They hadn't understood that some people, when threatened, don't run. They don't surrender. They fight. And they win. The farm was quiet now. The fields were healing from the invasion of boots and tires. Soon, the only signs of the confrontation would be memories and stories told around town. But one thing had changed forever. No one would look at Sarah Johnson the same way again. No one would see just a farmer with dirt under her fingernails. They would see her whole self, the soldier and the farmer, the protector and the nurturer. And if trouble came again, it would find her ready. A month after the raid, Mike called with news. Blackwell's entire operation had collapsed. His investors had fled. His political allies denied knowing him. The land he had tried to take from local farmers was now protected by new county regulations. You started something big, Captain, Mike said. People are standing up to developers all over the state now. Sarah thought about that as she harvested tomatoes in the late summer heat. She hadn't intended to start a movement. She had just wanted to protect her home. But sometimes protection means more than defending what's yours. Sometimes it means showing others how to defend what's theirs too. As she filled her basket with ripe tomatoes, Sarah heard motorcycles on the main road. For a moment, her body tensed, ready for action. Then she smiled as the motorcycles passed by without turning toward her farm. The bikers had learned their lesson. They now knew that appearances can be deceiving. That sometimes the quietest farms harbor the strongest defenders. That a black woman working her family's land might be more than she seems. That some people should never be underestimated. Sarah Johnson returned to her harvest, at peace with both sides of herself, the Delta Force commander and the farmer. The world had tried to force her to choose between them. But she had shown that she could be both. And neither the land nor her legacy would be taken from her without a fight.